Hello, Jillian Sidoti.
Hi, Jeffrey Holst. Hi, everyone. I'm Jillian Sidoti, and this is Jeffrey Holst. And this is the Last Life Ever podcast, where we try to encourage you to live the best version of your life. Jeffrey?
That does sound right, yes. For a minute, I thought you were going to forget what podcast you're on because you're such a big deal. But I'm really excited about our guest today, Jillian. I know you are too. Today we have Dr. Garrett Goggans on, who I met because he has this amazing podcast called, I forget the name, like something about going up a stream without a paddle. I think that's what it's called, something along that. We'll have to ask him that question as well. But I'm very excited about going on his show because when I talked to him before the show, he told me about how he doesn't believe in having bad days. And,
I know somebody who's like that.
Thing.
I know somebody like
so
that.
I was like, I have to have you on the show because I love to have people that are positive, but I also really like the idea of not having bad days, which is a big thing for me. So, Jillian, with that, I say we bring Garrett on the show. What do you say?
Right after this.
Help me, my brother, can you lend me a hand as I walk through this land of confusion? If we give to each other, then there's nothing to take. Let's live life for the moment before it slips away.
Hey, Garrett, so glad to have you here.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm sorry I butchered the name of your podcast. Can you tell us the answer to that real quick before we start?
Yeah, it's called Moving Upstream Without a Paddle.
See, I was kind of close,
You're
right?
close.
Yeah, I mean, I had the right idea. I remembered it was about moving upstream. And you actually, when we talked before the show, you told us a little bit about what that means. So why don't we start there as long as we're talking about your podcast? How'd you come up with that name?
Sure. So it actually, the introduction you had was great, right? So the idea of moving upstream without a paddle is it's going back to that not having any bad days. And the way you do that is developing this proper mindset. So when people are going after their goals, their dreams, their ambitions, whatever that looks like, more often than not, they feel like they're going against the flow. Like it's a hard time, right? We hear the statements of, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. And so that's the idea. So when you're going towards that, I've heard the statement, like, I feel like I'm moving upstream without a paddle, as if it's hard work and I can't, get up that stream. Well, I wanted to flip that and say, well, if we have the good days, if we have the proper mindset, if we're doing these things that are right, in our lives, we actually become the flow. We are the flow. We are the stream. And so you can literally move up that stream with no paddle needed. And, when we go after goals like that, they become effortless because we're not bogged down by negative thoughts and all these things, because that's really is what's pulling us back is the negativity of life. So that's pretty much the gist.
Yeah, no, and that's when you told me that was enough to be like, oh, I need to go on your show and you need to come on mine, because I was like, I agree with that completely. And I don't know, we only met a week or so ago, right. And so we haven't had a lot of time to get to know each other, but that is my thing. Like, regular listeners and viewers of our show know that I talk about all the time about how I gave up bad days 25 years ago. You've given them up more recently, though, right? I mean, it's been in the last few years.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've always had a positive outlook on life, but I still had times where I would really get in these depths of despair, like, because life has these ups and downs, and it felt like with my ups, I was really up, but then in my low points in life, like, I was down, like some depression, some substance abuse, and a lot of that stuff, and so it was this last round where just a few years ago where I said, I'm tired, I'm done having these lows being so low that I feel like I'm drowning or I just hit rock bottom. So I dove into this personal development and really what I call personal discovery now, because as we get into this idea of I'm just not going to have these bad days anymore. Well, it's discovering who you are and who you want to be and then becoming that person. And so it literally was this idea that, and that's why I got so involved in the mindset and what our thought process looks like and how can we really give up bad days? Because some people think that's difficult when you're so used to thinking. Like for you, you said you started when you were 17, I think is what I remember. And that's awesome. But when you get, 46 and you have these things, you're like, it's not so easy just to flip that switch sometimes, but really diving into the mindset and what that looks like helped immensely in establishing this. I don't have to have a bad day. When things bad happen, I can choose to respond in a different manner.
This makes me so excited because I've been telling people literally for a couple of decades now and I'm 43, or almost 43. So it's been 25 years that you can just make this choice and it's all mindset, right? Good and bad stuff happens to everyone every single day. And it's just about focusing on the positive and, accepting, that bad things are going to happen and you just have to deal with them. You have to make positive choices and figure out how to move forward. And I tell people this all the time. And one of the objections I get is, well, it's really easy when you started young, right? Like I get that a lot. And I've never really had a good answer because I've never had anyone to point to. So from now on, every time someone says that, I'm going to be like, go and check out the interview that I did with Garrett Goggans because he started when he was in his 40s, right?
Yeah.
And I think you can start anytime because I say all the time that it's actually easier than having bad days. Like it's not easy. I mean, at least not at first. It takes time, get used to it, develop the muscle, right? Flip the mindset. But bad days kind of suck. And like, if you let your days become bad, then you start having more and more bad days. And then pretty soon you have a bad life. Like what's easier, positive, happy life or negative, bad life? To me, there's no question which one's easier.
Yeah. I think if anybody is having issues or if they feel like it's difficult, the best thing that they could possibly do is just become aware of the thought process. Because I'm a firm believer that awareness precedes change. So you can't start having these when we're having difficult making that flip. We can't make a change until we're aware of really what's going on. And so the reason why it's so hard is because our bodies are programmed really. I mean, we call them paradigms, you can call them programs, whatever, but it's habitual. We're so used to having those thoughts when certain situations comes up, I can talk really. Your body just responds with the proper emotions that's going on with your conscious thoughts. And that response is your subconscious mind. So when you are continuously focusing on current results or the negative aspects of those current results, so the bad things that are happening in life, when you focus on the bad, you're going to get more bad because you're consciously thinking of bad. It impresses in your subconscious mind. It generates feelings of depression, anxiety, all that. And then from those emotions, that's what causes your actions. So what's the actions of depression, anxiety, and all that? Really nothing. Like more often than not with depression, you're just going to sit on the couch, binge Netflix, whatever that looks like, right? But that's not moving forward. That's continuously in that cycle of these bad thoughts. So when you flip that and say, okay, now that I know what the process that the mind is going through, let's think about this good thought and focus on that and choose. This is what was so awesome about your discussion, right? The decision, like you make this conscious decision. I'm not going to think about that bad aspect. Let's look at the good parts. What can I pull out of this that's good? What can I be grateful for in life? And then when you focus on that positive aspect, and then that begins to impress in your subconscious, then your actions are what? You're moving forward. You're excited to get up. You're excited to go with your day. And so once you understand that thought process and you can be in whichever cycle you choose to be in, it makes it a little bit easier because just that knowledge of what's going on. You're like, oh, I see. Yes. Okay. I get this bad part. I'm not doing that. And you move. It's still, like you said, we're exercising the muscle, but it's just, again, working out. If you don't know how to lift the weight, you're not going to do it properly. So know the how and the whys, and that makes it a little bit easier.
That's actually really true. And I never really thought about it exactly like that. So thanks for sharing that. It is the analogy, like if you go to the gym and work out every day, but you're not doing it right, you're more likely to injure yourself. So if you can learn what works, you can make a huge amount of progress with comparatively less effort. It's not like it's effort free, but it's definitely easier than if you don't learn from what other people do and what they're doing.
Right.
Right, Jillian?
Yeah, right, Jillian?
So, yeah.
You're so talkative today.
No, well, I have a lot of questions, actually. Dr. Goggans, first of all, I saw on your website that you're a mindset engineer, and I want to get into how do you actually engineer something like this, A, and then B, what are you a doctor in? I didn't know if you knew this, but this is a job interview too.
No, I get asked this a lot. So my doctorate, we'll start there. My doctorate is actually in computer science.
Oh, very good.
So in software development. So I have two lives. My one hat, I own a web design and development, or co-own a web design and development company.
Wait. How's your website? Because we might need you to develop a website for us. We've been working on this for about 2 years now.
We're really about to revamp that website because there's just stuff I just don't like about it. But I threw it up there. I was like, well, we have to get something. And so we got it up there. But I love the design. It just needs there's just some stuff that needs help with. But yes, so that's, my doctorate is in that. The mindset engineering piece, it's interesting that you asked that, because most people call it mindset coaching or life coaching or coaching. And I look at it differently, because we're really re-engineering what's going on. So if you remember, I talked about programming of the mind, or paradigms of the mind. Our mind is this supercomputer, right? And we're basically just reprogramming the operating system. And what we're used to doing in this, like I said, this habitual states of life, we're revamping that and downloading new software, so to speak, if I'm going to use the analogy from the computer science field. So that really is, we're saying, well, what's the life that you want? If it's this positive life, well, how do we engineer that for you? What does that look like? We look at stuff that, these things in life that you're not happy with, these results that you're not happy with, and then we reverse engineer that and say, well, where are those results coming from? So again, if we go back to this thought process, we're saying, if I'm telling you that results come from actions and actions come from feelings and feelings come from thoughts, we can go back and say, well, what were you thinking to generate all that stuff to give us these results? And then we say, okay, well, let's change that. And we can do that through, different affirmations, where most people say, again, we'll go back to anxiety. Well, I suffer from anxiety. Well, stop telling yourself you suffer from anxiety. Because one, I'm not saying that anxiety doesn't exist, but the more you continuously tell yourself that that's what you have, the more you're going to have it. And so that's kind of the engineering aspect, is like, if you begin to say, I can go through life without these anxious feelings and these thoughts, you'll see that begin to die out a little bit. And that's really part of engineering your mind and engineering that programming. And eventually that becomes your habit, is this positive aspect. Is like when Jeff said, I just made that decision, he basically just instantly, like, I liken the way you do that to reprogramming your phone back to factory settings, right? You say, I just made this decision, I press the reprogram button, and boom, it's done. And you just go on. And so
it kind of was that easy. I mean, yeah. I don't even like to tell people how easy it was, because they don't believe it, but it was really, I just started saying today's a good day over and over again until I believed it. Once I believed it, then I didn't have bad days anymore.
And that's what those, and people laugh at these positive affirmations, but that's what those do. The more you tell your subconscious mind does not know the difference between fact or fiction. It's just going to believe whatever your conscious mind feeds to it. So when you're going through life going, this is a good day, this is going to be a good day, after a while, your subconscious is like, guess what? That becomes your habit. And so now I'm going to wake up and this is going to be a good day. So I mean, you were probably just unknowingly doing that reprogramming.
For sure. Like back then, I didn't know what an affirmation was. It's like in the 90s and YouTube didn't exist. And so we didn't have like, Tony Robbins telling us what to do or whatever. So I just did it. And then I didn't even really believe it, but I was just stubborn. So I just kept saying it. And then one day I walked into a 7-Eleven and the guy behind the counter said, "How you doing today?" And I said, "I never have bad days." And then I went, "Holy crap, I never have bad days. When did that happen?" And that was literally like a shock to me. I'm like, wait a minute, I really don't have bad days. And then I realized it'd been months since I'd had a bad day, and I haven't had one since. So
I will tell you that what Jeff says is true. It's not that I didn't buy into what Jeff was saying. It was just a matter of, I never really thought of doing that before. And then I had a day that by any stretch of the imagination would have been a bad day. My son broke his femur and had to go in for surgery on it. And then during the surgery, or actually after he got out of surgery, CPS came into the hospital room to investigate my family because he didn't break his leg in that way. And when CPS, they were like, "This isn't a normal break, so we're going to do an investigation." And they went to my house and looked through all our closets and did a full-blown investigation. And then that evening, I had one of my lawyers call me and told me I was being sued. That all happened in one day. And
that was a tricky day for you, though. Let's be honest. It was a tricky day. Some days are harder than others, no doubt.
But Jeff called me and he said, "Hey, was it a bad day?" And I said, "Actually, no. CPS said that, they didn't find any wrongdoing and they left. It was wrapped up right away. And my son is in really good spirits and he got to eat really good food at the hospital and he thought it was like a little vacation.
He didn't even want to leave, if I remember.
He didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
And the surgery was successful. And Veronica sent us a gift to the hospital that day. And so we had a little balloon and he had a stuffed animal. So it was a good day.
Yeah, it was probably worse it was almost worse for me because I was so worried about you and you were busy and you couldn't talk to me. And I get really upset when I can't talk to my Jillian. I go a whole day without talking to her. I can hardly stand it.
So I will attest to the fact that it's true, but I won't say that it's as easy as going reset, because you really you have neural pathways that you got to undo. And that part to me is difficult. I have neural pathways that I've developed over the last year and a half that I'm trying desperately to undo now. So I get that. But your mind is like a computer and you have to clear out all the junk, all that junk stuff to make room for new stuff and then empty the recycle bin, right?
Right. Well, yeah, it's definitely a replacement too. And I completely agree with you that more often than not, it's not as easy to hit the reset button. It's not, because you have taken years over years to form those pathways and forming new habits and forming all that. That's not easy. It's not easy to break a habit. It's not easy to necessarily form a new habit to replace the one that you just broke. Mm-hmm. So it is time, but it's the persistency that when you're persistent in doing that, you will find the success. And like Jeff said, it's not, we liken it to hitting the result because he just made that decision. But even he said, I had to go through days of saying this, and then one day it just came out. And there's that. I am reprogrammed.
But that's right. It took a long time. It's easy to remember to gloss over that now because it was a long time ago for me. Right. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't like I say this every time I talk about this when I give a speech or something about it. It's like I said, today's a good day a whole bunch of times that first day, and it wasn't a good day. It was still a really tough day. The stuff that I was going through that made me feel like I was having a string of bad days didn't go away because I said today's a good day. And it took many, many days and much stubbornness to get to the point where I all of a sudden realized that I didn't have bad days anymore. Yeah. I don't know how long it was. It might have been a month. It might have been 6 months, but it was a while. And then all of a sudden it was like, holy crap, I actually do not have bad days. And that's an amazing feeling. And I wish everyone would get there. And I know Jillian's about there, but she's had to listen to me rant and rave about this stuff for like a year now. Actually, tomorrow will be a full year since the first episode of the Last Life Ever podcast. So
yes, that's true.
March
That's
16th, 2020.
Yeah.
Day that will live in infamy as the 15 days to slow the spread. Because that also happened that day. It kind of the global pandemic sort of overshadows Last Life Ever, but we're gonna outlast the pandemic.
Yeah.
I believe
sure
you will.
Hope so.
No, I believe you will, and I think that people, because of the pandemic, are looking for things like this, right? Because the world's starting to open back up, and so now is a really good time for this message to go out there to say, look, we've been trapped in for whatever, so now let's make this a new standard of going out there and living this last, this is your last day on earth, and making sure that the things that you want to get done, you get done. The people that you should be telling I love you every single day, you're actually doing it that day, and making contact and making these building the emotions and these relationships the way they're supposed to be built, because we've gone through the crap. Now let's come out of that crap and just make this a new. I love the idea and the concept that we have here.
Well, thank you for that. And I mean, that's what I love about your show too, which is very similar, obviously, in concept. But this is something else that I say all the time, right? The people I admire most have gone through adversity and come out of the other side stronger. And those are some of the people that have done the most amazing things. And so when I look at a whole world going through adversity all at once, yeah, I mean, obviously the people that died, you can't fix that for them. But the people that make it through this have an opportunity to really come out stronger and better people. And even if a small percentage of the world does that, the whole world is going to be significantly better. So I'm actually super optimistic about 2, 3, 4 years from now. And I can't wait to see it. But I also really just want to make sure that we help as many people get to that point as possible, because if one extra person comes out of this stronger, then that could be the one that makes the difference. Yeah. And it certainly makes the difference for them. And so I love having you on to share your message, because you're proof that this stuff works.
Yeah, there's tons of things that I had to overcome. And so when I talk about those ups and downs, my lows, like I said, they were really low. And so with the substance, it took my 8-year-old son to really slap me in the face and tell me, Dad, I think you're going to die doing this stuff. Wow. And I was like, wow, that's huge. About the universe giving you a wake-up call.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I better come out on the other side better after something like that. So I just took that and it's I just can't fail, and I won't fail. And a lot of people are in that state now. I mean, just COVID has done some damage to a lot of people. And I was talking with people, I mean, just here in Colorado, the suicide rate in teenagers, because they were homeschooled and lost the whole social aspect of school. It just blew my mind when we were having this conversation. And just this, like I said, what you guys are doing now and bringing back the positive aspect of life, that it sucked, but we can move forward, we can go on. It's so important. And I just kudos for y'all for just even during the pandemic for just keeping it going and making it happen, because it's a needed platform.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And I mean, we really did think about putting it off until the pandemic was over. Remember that conversation, Jillian?
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't.
Yeah, we were like, the president got up and was like, oh, we're going to take this 15 days to slow the spread. And that was literally the day we scheduled our first episode, and we were going to do it live. And then we're like, should we even do this? Because we were going to go in the studio and do it and everything. And we're like, well, we'll just try to do it from home. And obviously we went ahead and did it, because we were like, well, we have a guest schedule. And then he thought he might be sick at the time. And he was like, well, I'm not coming into the studio because maybe I'm sick, and who knows with this thing. And I mean, so glad we just decided to push forward, because those early shows are almost like a window into a unique mindset. We did the formatting a little bit different then, because, we've been playing with it to get it right. But I mean, there's a part where Jillian and I are talking about all the stuff we're going to get done during the 15 days that and that didn't happen. We just got really drunk for 15 days.
It's true. I hate to say it's true. I want to just bring this up before we let Garrett go. This is great advice. Veronica says, it is difficult for me too, but I've adopted the habit of saying 3 positive things for every negative thought. That has definitely helped. That's a huge piece of nice.
Yeah, and we
right
did
there.
for people that are watching this or listening to it later, we did do an episode with Mike Pearson on Memorial Day where he talked about that exact thing, 3 positive things for every negative thing. And he did it in relationship to losing his son in a battle in Afghanistan and saying before he can move forward, he had to find 3 positive things. And that interview is amazing, and people should definitely go check that out. And we'll put it in the show notes too for people, so they don't have to go look for it when we post this on YouTube and all of the podcasting places. So,
well, I was just gonna say, everybody go out there, just data dump it all out, or get rid of it all. But keep the things you need. The tax returns, like on your computer, you got to keep your tax returns. Get rid of all the negative stuff and make new pathways. It's going to take some time, but you can do it. I'm proof of that. You can do it. I am proof that you can do it.
Yeah, because you started to like work on this stuff, and then you had a lot of crap happen.
I had a lot of crap happen. Yeah. It has not been a year with all roses and rainbows. That's for sure.
Yeah, and and a lot of people going through similar things.
Yeah, for sure.
Kids or family members getting sick, like yours did, and you getting sick and all that. So tons of tough stuff, but you're still making that progress, and that's proof that this stuff works. So it's amazing. It's one of my favorite things about getting to know Jillian Sidoti, who's obviously amazing because she's on an amazing show, last life ever, and she puts up with me.
You're so funny. Well, thank you, Garrett, so much for joining us today. Jeff, good get on the guest. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
I know. I was really happy as well. And it's been great getting to know you, Garrett. Can't wait to get to know you better. If I get out to Colorado post-pandemic, maybe we can grab a coffee or something. It'll be
for sure, for sure. And you guys, thank you for having me. I always love, just like you, I love having the conversation with like-minded individuals because it just elevates me even more. Like, yes, this is so awesome. So I get to not be able to sleep tonight because I'm excited about moving forward and being positive. So it's an awesome feeling.
So if people want to follow you, get a hold of you, obviously we have the Facebook up here at Dr. Garrett Goggans on Facebook. And we'll put that in the show notes as well. And I think it's in the original posting on Facebook as well. But is there anywhere else where you would point them where it would be a great place for them to find you?
That's actually right now is the best place. They can go to the website, just garrettgoggans.com.
One of our viewers said that she thinks your website looks great.
Hey, thanks.
So it can't be that bad. I actually, in full disclosure, didn't go there, so that's on me. I should have done that.
That's how I found out he was a doctor, and he also ran away from home.
I heard that part. Do you want to tell us about that really quick, and then we'll wrap up the show? Like when did you run away from home? How old were you? What was the circumstances?
Sure. So I ran away from home when I was 16, mainly because I was really running away from religion at the time. Like I felt I was better than religion. Religion was holding me back. I had my maturity level did not meet my ambitions really, and so I rebelled against that, and but it really did a lot of stuff for me. Like it looking back now, I understood so much, and I went through so much, and now I can be, at 16 on your own, you're going to try stuff. So I dabbled in a whole lot of stuff. So now I can talk to my kids in a way that I have this knowledge about things that I went through, and that path, let me tell you what's going to happen because I was there, as opposed to someone who was like, oh, drugs are bad or alcohol's bad. Well, why? And so my kids are very why kids. Well, why? And so I can tell them the why. So luckily though, I pulled out of it, and my dad gave me this amazing offer that says, go back to school. That'll be your job. I'll pay you to do it. And I was like, cool, I like that. So I did. And here we are at, doctorate degree later. So it turned out to be a really good story. And Yeah, so that's the shortened version.
Yeah, and I'm glad you shared that, because that actually feeds right into what we were talking about earlier. It's like you go through this stuff, whatever it is, and even after you make the decision to be generally positive, you're still going to go through stuff. Like if you get diagnosed with a serious illness tomorrow, like that doesn't change because you're happy, right? But how you deal with it changes. But the thing is, once you get through whatever it is you're going through, that's where the real learning and growth comes from. And that's what I was saying about being really optimistic about the future for the world. Right. Because if enough people make that kind of positive choice, the world is going to be so much better because of what we've all gone through. Because we know you're better. You're a better parent because of what you went through. You just had this much. So that's amazing. Thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you.
Everyone else can stick around, and we will wrap up the show right after this. You know, every time I hear that music, I want to be like,
I know, dance. And then you look like I know. It's
well, we only look stupid to each other because no one else can see us when we're in the back. But now that we've done it publicly in a live stream, we're always going to look stupid forever. But I told you Garrett was amazing.
That was really cool. It was I was very quiet because I just wanted to hear what he had to say about this. I find this to be a fascinating subject, and I'm always looking for ways to improve upon, your the happiness quotient, if you will.
Yeah, no, and I love talking to him both today and in the last week or so, because I've been saying this stuff to a lot of people a lot of times, and I never hear anyone like say, yeah, that works. Once in a while, someone who I've sort of told about it will say, it's amazing, my life's better. And I always love that when that happens. But it's something entirely different to find someone come to the same realization in their own way, because it proves that it can be done. And I mean, I know it can because I've done it, but I love seeing other people do the same thing, because it's the more of us that are out there, the more there will be, right? Lead by example. So it's fantastic. I'm super happy that we had Garrett on, and I'm super happy that you're here, Jillian, even though we're a little bit later than our usual time right now. But
we are. So I have one big thing, and then we'll end the show. But one big thing that I all need you to participate in tomorrow is Leah Berardinelli Day, March 16th. And we're going to honor Leah by wearing purple and doing acts of kindness. So step 1, put on a purple shirt. Step 2, go do an act of kindness. Step 3, take a picture of yourself, hashtag it, Leah's life legacy and last life ever. A lot of L's, a lot of alliteration going on here. And let us know what you did, how you did, etc. Let's all honor her tomorrow. It's not bragging. We're honoring Leah. So we want you to let us know what those acts of kindness were, because we're going to honor Leah.
Also, and we have this as part of the Kind Morning Challenge, that you do a random act of kindness every day. And we try to share some of the ones that we do. Obviously, we can't share every single one. But there is something to be said about sharing kindness, because it inspires other people. And that's what Leah's family is trying to promote, is that we can inspire other people to be kind, because by all accounts, Leah was a very kind person.
Absolutely. And just so you know who Leah is, Leah was a 13-year-old daughter and sister and friend who tragically died of a heart defect in her sleep 2 years ago tomorrow. So we're all going to honor her tomorrow. Please participate. Wear your purple. Go out, do your act of kindness, and let us all know about it. Hashtag Leah's life legacy, hashtag last life ever, hashtag kind morning. Let us know.
Right. Yes, and that's all the hashtags we're going to make you do for that. Oh, and by the way, if you happen to be catching this show after the 16th of March, which, some people will, don't worry about it. You can still be kind. You can still hashtag. You can still honor Leah and her family. And there'll be another March 16th, so you can always do it.
Yes,
again.
It's going to happen every March 16th for the rest of our lives. So you can do it.
That's true. That's actually true of all days, though, right? Like for example, every February 2nd for the rest of our lives will be February 2nd.
That's right.
All right. Well, on that note, Jillian, do you have anything you want to share with the audience?
I want to encourage you to live the best version of your last life ever.
Never gonna say